Good morning. Thank you for joining this morning. My name is Peter Block, and we're going to talk a little bit about emerging trends in RFID technology. I think most of us have heard about RFID, know how it works in converting operations, know that it's in the marketplace predominantly in the retail sector with large adoption, getting the right things to the right place at the right time in the right location so that consumers can buy those things instead of passing them up. But there's a certain number of other industries that have a great potential to take the value away from RFID, that have ROIs that may be much more valuable than just having that right thing in the right place at the right time. Things like patient safety, safety standards in the automotive industry, also recalls and management and circularity in sustainability and recyclability in the environment. So we're going to talk about some of those trends today. And at the end, we'll have a question and answer period for you to voice any of your questions. The agenda that we'll go over is really just some of the very basics on what RFID is, the benefits that it brings, and then how those benefits apply to these different emerging industry segments. Those segments being food, automotive, and healthcare. And then we're going to talk a little bit about sustainability because it's a big topic in the marketplace today. So a little bit about RFID benefits. Of course, Avery Dennison believes in really connecting a digital twin to the physical item and allowing management by software and cloud computing, which adds a lot of value to consumers and everyone really in the marketplace. With RFID, you don't need to, all you need to do really is place that tag and connect the electronic environment with the physical environment. RFID allows a automated read, and most importantly, there's really no operational dependency. So unlike a barcode where you have to go blip, 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 it can read everything at one time, and it doesn't depend on a user to trigger that data flow. Also, the speed of it is much improved over a barcode technology. So you can gather data from multiple items all at the same time, or limit yourself to just dealing with one item at a time. And then RFID allows a lot more information to be stored, or can. And so you can identify down to a unique item, unlike a barcode or EPC tag or UPC tag that would just tell you it's a can of Coke. RFID could tell you it's this singular can of Coke. So there's a progressive family that Avery Dennison offers around RFID, around digital identities. And that really started with the barcode, but it's so ubiquitous that we've left it off the slide. QR code can gather more information, have more data. And then you're starting to see UHF and NFC, or an HF. NFC is a flavor of HF technology, high frequency. We're going to talk mostly about those today in the marketplace. And then as we move out into the future, we're getting to printed electronics, lowering the cost of an RFID tag, and then really passive Bluetooth. So the ability to utilize networks like your phone or beacons to gather information and push them to the cloud to make it available for everyone to use. There's three real components in an RFID system. One is the tag itself that you're attaching to the physical item. The next is really a reader that is reflecting the radio waves and energy that are put out to gather the data from that physical tag that's on the physical item. And then software that's managing all of that data and making sense for us in the cloud. So we'll talk about the two most popular RFID frequencies as far as volume go in the marketplace today, the HF NFC, near field communication, and UHF, which many people use RAIN as an identifier for that frequency. There's some differences there. So UHF is predominantly used in the supply chain applications, track and trace, logistics, baggage tagging. This is what started out in retail and has gained great momentum. It has a much longer read range. One reader can identify many tags simultaneously, milliseconds, and pass that data along. And it has a very low cost because of the volume that's being done in the retail and transportation space today. High frequency NFC tags are a little different in that they have, it's really one reader, like your phone, to one tag. So you're not gathering lots of information at one time, you're singulating. It has a little higher cost, and it is used predominantly for consumers to interact with products or a brand that's out in the marketplace. They have some different functions too, and we'll go through some of those in the different segment applications. So first we're going to talk about the food segment, and during our question and answer we have a couple of experts in the back from Avery, one on food and one on automotive. So if you get specific, I might call on a couple ladies to help me out with some of those questions. So the drivers here in the food industry and adoption really is about visibility of that food and its source, so farm to table, as many people say, and food safety around that, and how that food has been prepared and held at temperature and so on. So there's a lot of legislative requirements for food packaging and food supply. Certainly in the US, the FSMA or MA, and around the world, there's all kinds of different ones. There's also a kind of a threat in the food industry of new market sellers, let's say. So like an Amazon Go or the bodega on the street has always been there, but they're starting to get more regulated and be more specific in their needs to supply those foods. And then consumer brands are working hard to make the information on the food transparent to the consumer. So newer consumers, meaning younger consumers, are valuing where the food came from, willing to pay more for that transparency and freshness in the food. Also, there's a big cost reduction when you have greater visibility. So the ability to recall food or know its freshness or predict its value in the marketplace helps in that cost reduction. And then lastly, there's a lot of Americans that fall ill every year and from food poisoning, from food contaminants, and the ability to react to that quickly and take costs out of that system to react is very important to these drivers and trends that are happening in the food industry. So I want to talk a little bit about the different applications that are emerging in food. So at the farm or the ranch, I'm highlighting that really this is where brand owners are starting to be more connected to the consumer and tell a story about their products and the sustainability of their products, the freshness of the product, the quality of the products. And RFID certainly can play a factor in helping them do so. When it gets to the processor, it's really all about more efficient ways to streamline labor and also effectively recall products that get out into the supply chain that may not, have not been intended to do so. So there's also many other values that I'm listing. I'm just highlighting some of the key ones in these certain areas. At the distribution center, it's really about labor savings. It's distribution, right? So you're in logistics and moving things, and the quicker that you can do that and the more efficiently, the more cost comes out of the equation. And then at the quick serve retailer, grocer, convenience store, you're starting to see that's the area where you're reducing the food waste and labor. So if you can know what you have faster, replenish it quicker, keep it just in time, it allows you to take costs out of the equation and really serve your customers better. And then way at the end, at the consumer, this is the one where the NFC technology can come in to play. So a consumer can start to develop brand loyalty, can authenticate that the product is real and actually from that brand, and it gives them greater visibility to its origin and its freshness. The other four that we talked about are predominantly supply chain and would be UHF type of technologies. So here's some pictures of some products that Avery has in the marketplace for the food industry. One is a microwave safe label. So very popular way of heating products. And if you put a traditional RFID tag with the aluminum and the silicon in a microwave, it might spark and catch on fire. So we worked some solutions around preventing that and allowing that tag to be heated with the food in the packaging safely by consumers. One of the other obstacles that food often had is RF signals are absorbed by water and reflected by metals. So many of the food is water-based many times, and the packaging is metal-based. So we have tags that overcome those hurdles, allowing them to be put on metal cans, on frozen products, on high water-based products, and on the packaging. And then lastly is the fresh food label. That's more of a standard. It can be used on reusable totes. It also is used on fresh foods and packages. And these product offerings are all standard in the marketplace, and you'll see them in our portfolio when you visit our booth. I'm going to flip now to market trends and applications in the healthcare space. This is where I focus most of my work in North America on healthcare and life science. There's many trends and drivers that are happening in healthcare today as well. So legislative requirements in DSCSA that's asking for traceability down to the dose level for patients and keeping them safe and authenticating that that product is real. Today, in today's global supply chain, about 10% of medications are actually counterfeit medications, and deaths occur from those as well as illnesses. And it's very important for the manufacturers and providers to take those out of the system if they can and provide the highest safety and patient care that's available. Of course, pandemic pressures have played into the marketplace for healthcare. There's a lot less people to do the job. They're pinched by time and resources, and often the supply chain isn't getting them the products that they need to keep the patients healthy in the way that they're used to dealing. And that plays great. RFID can play greatly into making those products available when they need them and where they need them. Also, consumer interaction is a part of this whole healthcare industry. And the trade-off that people give for convenience on their phone versus privacy of information is lessening all the time. And people are trading that away so that they can gain that convenience and knowledge and information and data transfer. Fourthly, the diagnostics that are involved in the marketplace allow medical device manufacturers to ensure that the consumables used in their equipment, let's say to diagnose if a COVID test is positive or not, are intended for that particular piece of equipment and providing the best results. So again, this is a little bit about authentication, not using counterfeit products, using the OEM products in the marketplace to get the highest patient safety and results. And then, of course, the global supply chain on raw materials and components that are used to deliver care is important to have RFID visibility that the technology lends. So some use cases in the supply chain are for healthcare. So in patient care, you're seeing a lot of patient identification with like wristbands in the marketplace. You're managing medical supplies in a different way, whether that be in an OR or at the nurse station. You're seeing the consumables managed and the expiration of those supplies managed in a much more visible way, which again puts the product in the right place at the right time for those nurses. It allows them to be nurses instead of inventory takers. In the pharmaceutical area, we talked about the counterfeit and expiration date management. We also have a lot of supply chain management there. So pharmaceutical supply chain is very complicated. It goes from manufacturer to several different distribution areas before it finally makes it to a dispensing area where then a consumer can get it. It can also go direct to consumer by mail. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but RFID can gain a lot of efficiencies and visibility in that area. Medical devices, so the life cycle management and maintenance of those devices. Has this been calibrated? Has it been cleaned? Has it been sterilized? And then people that offer that equipment can manage it better on a leasing model versus a payout model. And certainly in the laboratory, there's a lot of management of small things like blood samples, tissue samples, diagnostics, and the kitting and movement of all of those pieces of information is critical to patient care, because you don't want to wait oftentimes for that diagnostic result to come. You want it as soon as possible, and you sure don't want somebody else's. And then in secondary care, that patient location for elderly, folks with Alzheimer's or wandering issues, for babies. Even RFID can be used to sense liquid content, for example, in diapers. So when should I change? Has someone, or on pressure, that can be linked to the RFID signal. So has a person left a bed? Have they moved from one room to another, which allows better care of that patient. The applications here that we're going to talk about, the first two really are UHF applications, because they're long read ranges by one singular device. And then the last one, the consumer interaction, is really starting to gain ground, and that is an NFC tag. So first off, the track and trace, just like in retail and in the supply chain, it's about knowing where the product is. Do I have enough of that product? Is it available? And is it real product, or is it counterfeit? Inventory management and efficiency is critical to the patient care. Some examples in this area are like crash carts that manage lots of drugs that are distributed through a hospital network in corridors and closets, that when somebody goes down or needs immediate treatment, nurses and physicians may run to find the specific item that they need for that patient care. Those items are expire, are inventoried, and need to be managed every day. And RFID can help that. For example, that kit can come to the pharmacy, they can scan the kit, they can know immediately what needs to be replaced in it, and do so and get it back out on the floor where it's needed. Whereas imagine when it was barcode, you're scanning every single item, replacing, making sure it's replaced, not expired, lots of time and labor to do so. Another new kind of improved efficiency that uses RFID is talking scripts. I talked to them yesterday on the show floor. They have a device that talks to a patient and tells them about the prescription, what the regimen is for the prescription by an RFID read of the information on that drug. And they don't need to read it or look at the small, tiny script. So RFID is playing in many of these different applications to make patient care more automated, more safe, and more in a consumer's hands. And so the last one, there's many drugs now that are shipped to home through the mail. And with the 10% kind of counterfeit rate in the marketplace, consumers want to know that what they're receiving hasn't been substituted in any way. So using an NFC tag on a bottle, and you can see this demo in our booth, the consumer can use their phone to read and authenticate that that drug is indeed from the manufacturer that they intend it to be. They can be linked to dosage information. It can be linked to notify your doctor. It can remind you not to take the drug if you haven't eaten yet. It can go a long way in providing information to the individual patient on how to use that drug in their regimen with it. Lastly, we're going to talk about market trends in the automotive industry. And really what I want to say here is that in the automotive industry, it's all about efficiency and automating the process, either in manufacturing or in the inventory of the final goods that are purchased. The control of that process with RFID can allow robotics to talk to tags and instruct them exactly what to do. It can trace through the work in process of a line and give information feedback in real time so that those processes become even more automated and more efficient. It can again check for counterfeiting and ensure that all the parts that are coming in are from the original OEM and manufacturer. It can help with recall management so that you can quickly find a part that's failed or do a quality check on parts in a finished product. And then again, supply chain visibility transparency allows the flow of those finished products, whether they're on the lot, and we'll talk about that in the next slide, to be moved up the supply chain and visible a lot faster. Some of the parts and components that we see being tagged today are seats, moldings, wire harnesses, many of the components that are automated and are put in the car in an automated way. And so they can also be used for warranty and repair as well. We talked a little bit about the manufacturing excellence in those robotics in the way that the whip works through the operational line. So labeling all of those components helps that visibility. And then really logistics, there's on the next slide, we'll talk about a windshield tag that allows the reading of all the finished goods on a lot and movement of those products out to the dealerships and enables the purchasing. And then tires is a big area too. And not only just the label on the tire that maybe the service center at Walmart might use, but an embedded label that's in the tire itself that a manufacturer might use for warranty, for retreading, for understanding if that product is authentic or not. Here are some of those examples of the windshield I just talked about, of really the tagging of seats, coverings, fabrics that are all going into the car. The wire harness you'll see in the booth, a new twist tag, so it allows it to be removed from the metal and the wire components, so we have great reads on it. And then the tire production data application there that's gaining speed. Lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about sustainability, and really the environmental part is a big buzz in the marketplace today, and maybe ground us a little bit on some common terms there and what they might mean. So the drivers and trends in the marketplace for sustainability really are about waste management and recycling, about product circularity, meaning recycling. What happens to that product? Can it be reused? Can it be, does it need to go in a landfill, or is there another path forward for it? The ingredients that go in products, are they safe? I want to know more about, again, like what I'm eating or what I'm using on my body. Who made the products? Um, is it a fair trade product or not? And then product traceability. Um, those trends all lead to kind of these questions around sustainability and how does RFID help sustainability? So one way that RFID tagging can help sustainability is reducing the waste needed in the whole supply chain. So you take that waste out, you have a lot less transportation, you have a lot less wasted product, costs come down through that visibility, and it helps in that way. Again, it helps measuring the carbon footprint. So in that transportation, in that waste that was going on, and it can provide the customer much more information on the product, which leads into the transparency and tagging that product from the source, watching it all the way through the supply chain allows consumers to build brand trust and allows the brands to build marketing around the value add that they put in to the products by getting them to consumer, by getting the consumers what they're looking to buy. And lastly, circularity is really about the recycling, the reclaiming, the reduction in consumption that RFID data can provide the visibility for and allow us to manage that better. So is the Coke bottle or soda bottle reclaimed? Is the pizza box just thrown away, or can it be recycled? And the next slide really talks about if you do label products with an inlay, are they still recyclable? And today we've done some studies with groups that have told us that the small RFID component is really negligible in the ability to recycle that product, whether it's plastic or cardboard or what is recyclable. It in essence comes out in their processing and in the wash. Short-term goals for us are really about taking waste out of what is produced, reclaiming waste from the production stream, and then long-term is about how you look at things that are tagged, how are they managed, can they be reused before they're destroyed, and if they're going to be destroyed, can some reclamation or parts of them be recycled and reformed into a new product in the marketplace.